Alright, so let's get to kill Ungol first.
Knock knock!
This fort would not withstand an attack of ghouls.
Oh wait, never mind. I think these guys are working for Talion.
Mm-hmm.
My lordship.
Attacks have commenced against the
Oh, that orc's got some nice drip.
This is unfortunate.
Don't
Or
bother
is
too
it-
much about him. He's basically mentioning these cutscenes, but he's basically there just to be the regent of the fortress.
Departed a week ago to avenge his blood brother. Took his drakes.
I'm sure we'll not see him.
I have not heard from him since yesterday. Thrak was poisoned. He confronted Ahisu, who denied responsibility. Thrak, perhaps deranged by poison, stabbed Ahisu.
Yeah, I was like, fuck my life.
To death.
It's a wonder you've been able to hold the fort as long as you have.
We won't
Okay,
hold it all.
why are you getting smart with him, honey, after your big screw-up?
Know a few
Also,
She's-
you
she's-
try holding...
defenses.
She's still a bit judgmental because she doesn't like much of the fact that Talion still uses orcs for his doing.
Very well.
However,
I must attend to the fortress in Cirith.
Saragost,
Whereas you now wear the ring.
Eh,
I will not dominate these orcs.
are you really in a position to talk?
well, she can find another way. That's the main gimmick of her DLC. Elthariel will not dominate orcs properly by her choice, even though she could. She can, because the ring allows her power, but she actively refuses to do it. So instead, we need to seek alliances, and that's the gimmick of the DLC. You have to resolve a bunch of these side missions before continuing the main quest, which, if resolved correctly, will net you specific orc captain allies. But the thing about this is that you can potentially fail them and still continue. Sure, the balancing thing is that if you manage to recruit these captain orcs, the story mission will be significantly easier because they will actually give you a helping hand. So it's actually a good idea of a variation of the main game. The orcs when you recruit them are not done forcefully, but instead doing favors to them, and in return, the mission can be potentially still failed, you know, if you screw up, but still be able to continue by your own choice, so giving you a slight degree of freedom. What I will argue is that in order to sacrifice that, the behavior of orcs clearly had to be a bit less dickish as a result, and you'll be the judge of that starting with this first one.
I guess the idea is that they're more docile because Talions
see.
kept them in line.
Well, these were not even dominated as far as I know. Starting with this Da Vinci-looking motherfucker Olo guy. Complete with that triumphant music.
I was about to say, the music sounds very triumphant and kind of happy.
Despite having names, these orcs and Olo guys will be defined by their jobs. In this case, the architect. Yes, put your own Matrix jokes here if you want.
Wait. The light makes them explode.
The goose, yes, the goose can instantly be insta-killed by the light.
So they're booze,
Kinda.
basically.
Also, I gotta love Elthariel's. Well, I won't try to dominate orcs, but I will try to dominate Sauron, who
So
Hold on.
is in charge of. Oh, does he even have an accent to match too?
He does have an accent, admittedly, but I cannot even pinpoint what he's trying to say in terms
Is
of,
he-
you know, being an accent.
I was about to
Oh,
ask,
so
do you
it's-
think he's going for some off-brand Italian one, given how he's
Potentially, I
dressed?
suppose,
So
but
it's-
I
so-
don't know.
so it's like the Funimation dub version of Commander Red.
Oh, damn it. We did that to him.
No, the Commander Red in OG Dragon Ball in the Funimation dub, me and Dwebs have tried our hardest to determine what accent is that, and we couldn't for the life of us figure it out.
I mean,
Okay,
isn't it
given-
supposed to be, essentially, by appearance and everything, isn't it supposed to be slightly based off of Blofeld?
Kinda, yeah, but that's the thing. They didn't really go for a British accent of any kind. They just went for an imperceptible accent.
Oh, of course, the European accent.
No, is it? That's the thing. Is it European? I don't know if it is. That's the thing.
Anyway, your mission here is to essentially protect the architect and his followers because his entire goal is to build a fortress, a new fortress. You will never see it full completion, by the way. You just have to help him out. And essentially, if you help him out, the walls of the fortress of Ungol will be more resistant, and it will also help him battle. Yes, Jova?
Given that he's decked out in blue, I think this assumes that Talion recruited this guy and all the other orcs, so maybe that's why they're more friendly, since I assume under Talion's rule it's like, you know, hey guys, we're here to help the kingdom, let's not be dicks as much, and the ones who stuck with him pretty much garnered onto that. Which, honestly, it is an interesting idea of how Talion would function as ruler without Celebrimbor, or, you know, influencing him to be pretty cruel.
Like you said,
okay.
On a gameplay standpoint, it also offers good variety from what the main game does.
Yeah, it is neat. And also it is nice to see what was going on at that time, too. That said, I still think that it's an incredibly missed opportunity that we didn't get to see what Baranor was up to by this point.
Yeah. And again, since the game takes place in... the main game takes place 60 years before the events of Fellowship of the Ring, it's pretty easy to assume that he's either too old or has died away by those times.
Like, I think I said it since, like, Shadow of Mordor, but one of the biggest missed opportunities was not having an ensemble cast, or at the very least, a posse of sorts between Talion, Baranor, Elthariel, and...
Elthariel and Torvin.
Yes, and Torvin, like... And, you know, it would have been something of an interesting play on, you know, the original cast with the Jackson trilogy, you know. We had the elf with Legolas, the dwarf with Gimli and all that. We wouldn't have a hobbit, but... Well, I guess we could have had Ratbags, or it was like, you know, the Team Orc.
Great work here today. And with my archers gone, I'm going to need protection.
Orcs can grow beards. I feel like this is the first time we've ever seen that happen.
No, we're having orcs with mutton chops. And some
maybe
degrees of facial hair.
Oh, look at it. She looks like Galadriel when she does the phasing thing.
She's still her model as a phantom.
Well, I guess she and Galadriel look similar, because I swear, when she glowed up like that, she looked like Galadriel to me, but
Possibly
then again, that might just be...
face of a model, more recognition than anything.
I guess the reason I was caught off guard with that one orc is like, well, I guess it's the first time I've seen that particular hairstyle and combination.
Yeah, because it's very unique. All of these captain orcs will have unique appearances, but you're still affected by the normal nemesis system.
You are every bit as I imagined.
You?
I barely got here.
Essentially,
I can sense these things, I
I
guess.
will just showcase this one example to see how the nemesis system works, because I'm pretty sure I demonstrated, you know, well enough in the main game, and I did not really encounter any particular special orcs.
Oh, I see you can blind them too.
Yeah, like I said, even the captains are afflicted by the light attacks. In fact, you can even, as I was about to demonstrate, you even are potentially able to get a special type of healing text, you know, by killing them that way. Yes.
Surrender to the light.
In the name of the light, I will banish you. Is that what Sailor Moon says, or something like that?
In the name of the moon, I will punish you.
Yeah, let's go with that.
I was actually referencing Palutena from Smash, but yeah, that works too, I guess.
So basically, just to mention from that bit earlier, so we just went through the Lord of the Rings equivalent of a boo house, basically.
Kinda. There you go.
Guess.
Ignited.
Well, that'll help make him shine bright.
Basically.
Again, you know what? To give credit to the DLCs, it is nice how they do feel like spins on the base gameplay, but
yeah, compared to the DLC of the first game,
really
they genuinely do feel like they try to differentiate them even more. You know, this next mission is a bit unique. You have to deal with a sniper.
This is impossible. He never misses. Come on, boys. He can't get us all. Let's just rush him.
Let's see. Yeah.
Famous last
Well,
word.
maybe if you didn't talk so loud.
Oh, it gets even better. Your side objective is to literally throw a bunch of orcs in the line of sight of fire. Leaves, you need to stop writing for these games.
No, I wouldn't write them to do that. I just have them do it. I just have the character do it themselves.
So your job is to actually,
lazy bum.
mind you, you're not safe either. So you need to actually walk through cover, in order to reach the sniper safely. Once you will actually reach him, you should be able to negotiate with him properly.
If you're gonna be a vicious killing maniac, do it yourself. There's a life lesson you didn't expect to learn today. I'll say life lesson, but you know what I mean.
Life lesson, yes.
Yeah, life less and lifeless.
What a story it is.
Yeah, you can say that again.
It's like having a book called Loveless.
Imagine that happened. To be fair,
Well-
I forgot if in universe came first the book or the theater play.
Well, there was that TV show, The Wild Wild West. One of the main villains in that last name was Loveless.
It's a relatively common last name, actually, Dave, so I can't believe that. No, what me and Pedro were referring to is something that existed in the universe of Final Fantasy VII.
I'm right now playing through Crisis Core Reunion to prepare for our
Genesis will shut the fuck up about
for our prequel to 7 Rebirth. I find it interesting how I really feel like if they wanted to make this more like 7 Remake, they probably should have just redone the dialogue entirely, because this is literally 2007 dialogue in a 2022 game, and
It's like I mentioned, so you legit took the script, note for note, and just gave it arguably lesser actors. Don't get me wrong. This is not a dig at the actors in general, but I'm sorry. The voice acting in the original is just leagues better.
Well,
You
for
go up
some of
against
them at
George
least.
Newbern as Sephiroth.
Anyway,
I will argue Cody Christian is still a better Cloud than Steve Burton. I don't dislike Steve Burton, but Cody
Anyway.
Christian is the better Cloud. Go on, too.
here's the thing, if you pay attention to what Galadriel mentioned, this is a very rare occasion, a first age orc. One that served under
Interesting.
Morgoth, and as such is not particularly fun of working for Sauron.
I suppose they'd die well enough.
I am the bow of Morgoth, and I have resisted the usurper's rabble alone far too long.
So this guy was pretty much probably all too happy to join Talion, I guess.
Oh, I guess we found out the guy who took the drakes.
Today I'll finally end your miserable life.
So basically that's our mission, defeating the drakes.
I will say...
If you do
sorry,
that,
go on.
the Bow of Morgoth will also join your ranks as a sniper. Go on, Jova.
I will say, I'm actually really digging these super customized orcs. I definitely do get the feeling that they're made with, maybe some ideas that couldn't be realized for the main game, or maybe the devs specifically set aside these very combinations so that they would definitely stand out for the DLC.
They decided to make them properly for this kind of story, Sure, you still get the randomized one for the Nemesis system, but for these missions you get something more personalized.
Which honestly is
It's
nice.
It's a refreshment of pace, admittedly.
And honestly, it's great getting to see what a first age orc thinks of all this nonsense.
And again, remember what Galadriel specifically said to not mention her name properly because she's a firstborn, and I probably will, reignite old sparks if she did. Anyway, to continue what I was saying before, you might not remember it, Waves, but Loveless was a thing even in the original Final Fantasy VII game. It's a poster that is plastered during the initial sequence of after you bomb the sector, and if you talk with the Cid before this trip, he even gets to say that he went to see the play, and despite falling asleep halfway through, he actually enjoyed it. So that's pretty neat. But in Crisis Core, Genesis won't shut the fuck up about it. And,
Oh god.
and sadly, you have to pay attention because it's basically a plot point for its end. But I will not say any more because, again, it's a plot point.
Well, about your point earlier, Joe, that I won't speak to all the characters since I haven't heard a whole lot of dialogue from the OG voice cast, but some of them, Aerith, sound like they'd rather be anywhere else.
Particularly, okay.
You're talking about Aerith from OG Crisis Core, is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah. No. Trust me, Dwebs. Back in those days, in the Kingdom Hearts 2 and the Crisis Core Advent Children days, they couldn't really find a good actress for Aerith to save their fucking. They got Mandy Moore in the first Kingdom Hearts, and I will argue she could have done.
They don't even remember how she sounded like.
It is good to fight beside another archer. You are not beholden to the pretender. Therefore, you will stand with me against his.
I'm flattered.
I legit want to know this guy's life story.
You can also tell the budget was slightly smaller because you get these BioWare-esque back and forth type of interaction, but I actually don't mind.
Yeah, they're fine. The animations hold up well enough.
And again, I don't really care about these having to be overproduction if that actually sacrifices gameplay and stuff. So
Oh yeah,
Anyway.
like first, don't get me wrong, like story production is important, but first and foremost, make sure a game runs well before we have to like make it look uber 4K pretty.
Anyway, this third orc for this mission is called the Thrall, and apparently is a servant of Shadow? Question mark?
So he's got to deal with spiders.
Or so he literally has one attached to his back.
Okay then.
She said you would seek me out. You have nothing to fear.
Is that spider on his back
You have
alive?
nothing to fear. Open comments, blade of the witch, close brackets.
That's because he mentions that in the Dark Tongue.
Gracious offer.
Well, that's good. For a moment there, I thought this was gonna be like the way Nojima does emphasizing.
Anyway, essentially the mission is that you need to follow the Thrall to an orc encampment and actually defeat the orcs there. I will mention a bit more when we actually get there, but you can also potentially influence this mission by doing some side activities beforehand. I did not do it for the sake of this run, but the game has a minor foresight in case it detects that you did manage to. So again, I'll remind when we get there. Continue, Pedro.
Yeah, like, no, I will argue. Go on.
Because I do remember they did get someone else to replace Savari for a bit before the remake, and
Yes,
I
in
remember her
Crisis-
sounding a bit better.
In Crisis Core and the few lines that the character has as an assist in the city of Duodecim. And to be fair, I don't think she was the worst, but I argue Brianna White is leagues above.
Oh,
her
that's
anyway.
definitely. But no, that's the thing. Like, if remember, okay,
And
keep in mind.
Allen, by the way.
Keep in mind, Mandy Moore in Kingdom Hearts 1 is 2002 Mandy Moore, so she didn't have the experience that she has now. So that's not her at her best, But there was, even back then, there was definitely a potential for her to even get better with more experience in the role. Because she was good. Because she was good in Kingdom Hearts 1. Not great, necessarily, but good enough. So if she kept voicing the character throughout Advent Children and Crisis Core and other shit, she could have genuinely improved even better with more experience. As we saw, of course, when she is now famous for being Rapunzel in the Tangled franchise, right? But no, instead of keeping Mandy Moore, they went with far worse actresses, in my opinion, right after
Like,
her.
I mean, like from what I remember, because there was Mina Savari, then there was Andrea Bowen for like the rest of it up until the remake.
With a question too, like, are they still using Mina Suvari in the City series? I don't think so, are they?
No.
No. Okay.
Okay.
First of all, Aerith was just present for being an assist in the City of Duodecim.
True.
She did not show up
Savari.
for NT, and if you forgot, Opera Omnia has only Japanese voice acting, so
Sure.
Aerith is played by Anna Sakamoto.
Yeah, and as for Palfar Suvari's involvement, when it was only in Kingdom Hearts 2 and Advent Children, from Crisis Core up until the remake, it was Andrea Bowen.
Sure. No, but that's the basic gist. To address to finish the point that Joe was mentioning, I will argue, Joe, it's one of those things where it's just like, yes, well, it is true that Rick Gomez and George Newbern are definitely better choices for those characters that they play. I will argue Cody Christian and Brian White are definitely better than the OGs.
I should also emphasize that when I say overall, I do mean overall in the sum of their parts. I feel like the voice acting was better in the original. Like, that's not to say everyone and everything was better, but overall it was better, to the point where, again, I feel like if you wanted to really do a remake of Crisis Core, maybe change up some of the dialogue and story. Heck, even include that now kind of canon bout that Zack can kind of survive at it, but like, I guess the thing that weirds me out about Crisis Core is like, I wonder why wasn't it just a remaster? Like, okay, granted, maybe it's to use the new assets and whatnot.
Yeah.
And also because they applied a similar. Remember, Type 0 also was a PSP game, and when it was ported onto the PS4, they did something similar by. Not by touching up a few of the models, but anyway, let me mention this quickly.
Go ahead.
As the Thrall mentioned, after you kill a certain amount of the orcs, in the encampment, these 3 captains survive. However, these are guys that you can encounter in the side missions of the game, which I will show in a later part. So if you take care of them beforehand, individually in the mission, Elthariel will actually mention, oh, I already dispatched them, and the game will actually compliment you for it. So there's like I said, there's a bit of a level of foresight, and you can make this mission easier for you potentially. But as you can see, you can still get to this done very easily.
Very nice.
Also, in regards to what you were mentioning in general, first, like I said, it's similar to what they did to Type 0, although in this case of Crisis Core it's a bit more touched up because all the models are more, properly upgraded, even the backgrounds and everything.
Yeah.
I don't remember if the music has been recomposed or not, but I don't think so.
Actually, I can tell.
With their other HD remasters.
Yeah, for Crisis Core Reunion, they got Takehiro Ishimoto, who composed the original game, to basically do what Keiichi Okabe did with Neo Replicant. Basically, just take the same tracks and this time it's performed with a natural orchestra instead of.
Okay, I can tell you. I add to us because for the Crisis Core section in Ever Crisis, they do use the music from the original PSP version.
Sure.
Well, I was wondering.
Well, the music.
And
the music was already good to begin with. It's Takehiro Ishimoto after all, so I'm not particularly bothered by
in a
that.
vacuum, but I'm not a super fan of the soundtrack, so I hope it's a bit better for this
I will.
remake. But anyway,
I will say also. Yes. Did you? I will say also, this reminds me of back when Square was saying, "Oh no, we're totally not replacing the iconic cast of Final Fantasy VII. Like, we're only using them for the remake." Then proceeds to use them as pretty much the new de facto actors for a lot of these.
Okay. All right, Jover. If I can do a to be fair thing for one major example, I think Steve Burton's kind of on people's shit list at the minute because of the whole thing about vaccines.
Oh
yeah.
God, seriously.
It just figures that both in English and Japanese Cloud's actors have been
Yeah. Apparently he got fired from General Hospital because he refused to be vaccinated.
Yeah. So basically, Cody Christian is going to become the all-around Cloud. Okay, gotcha.
Okay. And let me make it clear, in cases like those where the actor not only is arguably inferior to the replacement, but was doing crap stuff like that, I'm okay with him not returning. That said, though, keeping the replacement to Sephiroth, though, when George Newbern is still there and not a piece of crap.
No, no matter how many times I hear this new Sephiroth in remake and how crazy. Sorry, go on.
I get the thought process was, if we had to recast a song, we might as well do the whole thing.
Oh, sure.
The current TV Superman.
Oh, of course. So they're taking the Sega approach. Gotcha.
I get the idea it was a matter of which should have just found someone better.
See what happened?
The Sega approach. Tell that to Mike Pollock.
Well, yeah, but that is true. But at the same time, remember the main reason why the 4 Kids cast was brought into first place was because they needed to replace Dean Bristow. So they would, and at some point someone decided, you know what, might as well replace everybody, even though nobody was really asking for that. But anyway,
time to get our first siege in terms of defenses. And like he said, since I've been diligent enough and I saved recruited all 3 of the captains, they will assist me.
A new power rises in Mordor today. As we speak, the Grave Walker faces a massive army at his gates.
Boy, they got a really lot of mileage out of Dwight Schultz for this game, didn't they?
I don't think it's this one, though. I think this one is J.D. Blank.
Really, it sounds like Dwight Schultz. I recognize him because he sounds similar to how he voices Dingo Dial.
There you go. If you have your captains, you will get the minor extra interaction like this one.
He pulled the dwibs.
Yeah, they're too busy talking, so I just shoot them.
Again, it's one of those cases where as the game rewards you if you actually been diligent, so that's actually very nice.
Yeah.
Anyway, what I was trying was, I've also seen before, is that since I haven't actually heard the entirety of the new cast for the Crisis Core remake, the actor that I'm more interested to hear what the replacements sound like is actually Ungol, because I actually genuinely liked the performance of that the character had in the original version, so I do wonder how the replacement sounds like.
he sounds fine so far, I would say. I mean,
Bill Mishap is
yeah. See, just to address what Jova was saying, see, that's the thing, Jova. Like, you can tell that the main reason they even bothered to remaster this game at all was because they knew they needed to explain to newcomers to Final Fantasy VII with Remake who the hell is Zack. You know, because
and why that ending with him surviving is such a big deal.
Important, yeah.
Yeah, like honestly, I do feel like having the twist of Zack living probably would have been better if we had bits of the story between him and Cloud going to proceed.
And again, we're recording this before Rebirth is being released. I get the sinking suspicion also the rest of what happens in Crisis Core is gonna play a part in Rebirth, but
yeah, that's probably going to be
just a
so.
hunch, probably.
Like, let me make it clear, like, as somebody who had played the original, I was perfectly fine with the remake being a sequel. That being said, I totally get people being pissed off that the remake is kind of not necessarily a remake, and man, if you were hoping for something to just help you get into Final Fantasy VII without having to play the original...
Well, it's weird. Well, to be fair, there have been plenty of people who have that I've seen that have played that as their introduction, and they really enjoyed it and are hyped for Rebirth. So it's not like it's so it's not like it's impossible to work.
It's not impossible, but it is a very
There's still the dilemma about potential false advertising, which is a constant, especially about all the product these days. Continue with.
Also, yeah, I did just remember actually. It wasn't just Steve Burton. This turned out to be a piece of crap. Cloud's Japanese voice actor.
Yeah, Takara Sakurai. Yeah.
Already.
How do you manage to cheat on your wife for 10 years and thinking you can get away with it? You must be really that stupid. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Wasn't there also a Yakuza actor who had something going on?
Pierre. Actually, what happened was it was in Judgment.
Yeah,
one
that's
of the
it.
actors, Pierre Taki. He was convicted. I think he was convicted or otherwise brought in on drugs offences.
Don't put it this way.
Found in possession of marijuana. It was actually Olaf's Japanese voice actor, and as such, they had to re-record all of his lines for Kingdom Hearts 3.
I will say this, by the way. Like one thing that I do not particularly care for. Okay, let me put it this way. If they really wanted to remaster this game. Okay, I understand given the UI a more Final Fantasy VII Remake style, because the UI is literally basically just Final Fantasy VII Remake's UI. Thing is, they're also trying to imitate the graphics of 7 Remake, but with a 10th of the budget, and as a result, it looks not particularly great. See, 7... sorry, is the thing... No. Okay, see... The reason the original Crisis Core looked so great on the PSP and still looks great when you play it on even when you pop it up to 1080p on PPP on the emulator is because they went with visuals that were made in mind with the limitations of the hardware and the budget that they were using. Whereas this is trying its best to look like 7 Remake, but it doesn't have the budget to pull it off. As a result, a lot of the models and character animations, to me, look off. Like, they're, again, I feel like the game would have been better served if it just kept the original visuals, but just touched them up, instead of just remaking the entire visuals to look like 7 Remake, but you don't have the budget to actually make it look as good as 7 Remake.
I think Brando SP talked about something similar in his Type 0 video, where he mentioned that while a lot of the assets were upscaled, a lot of others were actually kept instead, like the PSP ones, and it actually creates a bit of dissonance.
Same. I'll argue it's worse with what happened with Final Fantasy X Remaster, where Yuno always looks dead emotionless at all times in that remaster.
But that's just a
I was going to say intense.
I agree. Don't worry. Go on, Jova. You were saying.
The main issue with I feel is the main issue with the Crisis Core remake is, it's okay. It's technically a remake, but it feels like it's trying to be a remaster, in the sense where, on the one hand, like a remaster, it is pretty much note for note, line for line, scene for scene, the exact same game as the original, whereas remake-wise, it is using all these new assets, which, okay, to be fair, that worked for something like the Shadow of the Colossus remake. However, the difference is that the Shadow of the Colossus remake is relatively self-contained overall. Like, nobody, from what I understand, was expecting some major changes, and they did think about implementing those changes, but at the behest of the original creator, they kept the Colossus count at the same. The difference here is, like, well, with the Crisis Core remake, there was arguably room to improve the story, because, look, I like Crisis Core, but that story ain't exactly flawless, so...
No.
And it feels weird that they try to go about recreating it exactly the same, while trying to budget it, but also have it look on par with the remake. I'm like, guys, just do a remake proper. Like, sure, it can have a similar art style to the remake, but don't have it be all high budget. And also, you're a remake. You can make some changes. In fact, changes are part of why people anticipate remakes as opposed to remasters. That's not to say that remakes should always go completely insane with the changes, but again, one of the main reasons people do like the idea of a remake is seeing what might change or be slightly altered here or there.
Sorry. Go on.
But the Crisis Core remake misses out on that.
Here's the thing. When it comes to Blue Point's Shadow of the Colossus remake, first off, they actually had a proper budget to accomplish the visuals they were going for. That's the first thing right there. And second, if you've played Last Guardian like we have and Eco, you'll notice that. Okay, and if you've played, Terry, if I remember correctly, your version that you played was the PS3 remaster, right?
Yes.
Okay. You'll notice, however, that when you compare the OG Shadow of the Colossus with Eco and Last Guardian, there's a difference in how the game looks compared to the other two. And that's because, as we now know, thanks to the development info, a lot of cutbacks had to make in order to make sure that game would run on the PS2 without making the console explode.
Talion now is returned just in time, and we lost Herghost. Fuck.
I don't suppose they had anything to do with it.
And now we get to introduce to the main villain of the DLC, a pair of Nazgul. With our woman.
Oh! So we can have female Nazgul.
We will get their backstory at the end of this DLC.
Very fabulous now, school from the look of it.
We even have a particular
part.
weapon. I get the idea someone enjoyed Avatar The Last Airbender because when you see her weird weapon of choice,
Not their clothing. Not their clothing, Jova, but their but their attitudes and their poise.
So were these Nazgul also among the Nazgul from the original trilogy?
They were just, not actively involved, I guess.
They never spoke up, I guess.
Indeed.
They're having poses is like they're asking me to dance.
Wouldn't it be funny if it turns out that they're also elves? Once again, showing that elves aren't exactly above it all.
Essentially, these two wants to take advantage of the fact that the Witch King is currently, being banished by Talion, as such needs to actually reform.
Of course,
to stage a coup of their own.
of course, Joe. That's why they ran away. I mean, ascended.
So even the Nazgul have power struggles within themselves.
Remember, the Witch King is essentially their leading figure to keep them in line. If he's banished, they might not, act completely in line. But before the party's over, Pedro, continue.
There's also but yeah, like I was saying, because of the changes they had to make to OG Shadow of the Colossus, that made the game, despite taking place in the same world, look distinctively different for what seemed to be no reason. And we learned on that, the reason there's so much fog everywhere is because they needed to create a massive distance fog system a la Superman 64, again, to prevent the PS2 from exploding, right? How the remake, on the end, what Bluepoint did, as they always do, is they went back to the original artwork that Wada and his team made and made the game look like Last Guardian and Eco, so that now we have a proper consistency on how this world works across all three games. Because you'll look at the ruins now in the new game, and they actually look like Last Guardian / Eco ruins. So now, so the remake finally brings the consistency that the original game was lacking. So it was an important thing. I have more issues. It's a shame that they couldn't do quite the same with the Demon Souls remake, but that's a topic for another day. Go on.
Alright, till the next time where we actually travel back to Saragost and see if we can reclaim the fortress or not. See ya.
See ya.
Ta-ta.